Hey, and welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for 1 hour. All right, so we're live. It is episode 1081. I think it's coming in okay. Am I seeing yeah, I'm seeing a little wiggle there. So let us know if anybody's out there. I just barely started it, so we'll take a minute for the alerts to go out, but Guns and Barbecue jumped in already. We'll put the link out on Patreon. Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So it's I'm glad you're jumping in because number one, it tells me I'm put the right link over there and that people are looking at it. I don't know. Do you get an alert or something on Patreon?
Actually, I get an email notification every time that you send it.
Okay, cool. So and then DTP is out there. Thanks for the info on the sound. And then like I said, I've just been posting it over there so that way I can get links out there. I was emailing links to people and they were showing up real sporadically. So anyway, thanks for showing up. Nobody's obligated, but you're always welcome. Let's see. So it's Monday. For people that might be listening to this, DTP got an alert also. Good, right on. So that's actually better. I don't really care about a YouTube alert. Usually you just get a bunch of weirdos from the YouTube side. No, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. You just get the anonymous weird stuff, somebody in, I don't want to say Bangladesh because I think people in Bangladesh are probably cool. So what's a stupid country? Germany? I don't know. It's a bad country. China? No, I don't like China. Probably China. Some dumb country, some island country probably. Island countries are usually weird. So I don't want somebody from some weird island country. Anyway, so yeah, I've been working on projects here. I'm actually, depending on how the show goes, I've got some work to do. So I'm going to open up some stuff here as soon as I can stop talking and typing at the same time, basically. So let me see. I don't need all these windows open, but some of them I will want to open. Which ones do I not want to open? I guess I want to save a couple of things real quick, like before I screw up and don't save them. So November 20th, let me just get this in here. Anybody know what November 20th is the anniversary of? I'll give you $1 million. Well, I can't give you $1 million. I'll give you like a really big chunk of money if there's any way you can come up with what I'm putting on here, the calendar for November 20th. I guess it's possible that I might have posted something that would be a clue to it, but I'm pretty sure nobody's going to know about it. Anyway, so this goes here, and dang, this thing over here did say where he lives at. Blah, blah, blah. Oyster Bay Cove, Long Island. So I guess that's New York. So we'll put New York. So as soon as I'm done doing this, then I can be less distracted. And then I'm going to save this one, which I'm pretty sure I lost this picture. I'm almost positive I made this cartoon already, and I went to look for it for the thing I'm doing right now, and it wasn't there. So I'm pretty sure I lost this. So let me go update here, then those two things. So I ended up starting to do one thing today for the calendar, and then that led into like a million other things. And then I discovered something interesting. So we'll see if people start showing up. And I don't see any guesses on what November 20th was. Do you have any guesses on what November 20th was?
The only thing I could guess is the eve of the birth of the Antichrist, my ex. Other than that, I got nothing.
No, I have no idea what that's about. But no, it was well, it is the day that the guy who invented the motorized squirt gun.
Oh,
So I now know who invented the motorized squirt gun. I know what the first motorized squirt gun was, and that guy is in the calendar. However, he says in this article dated September 8th, 1986, and I quote, because of the Vietnam War, nobody was buying toy guns. Now, Rambo, Bambo, and suddenly it's okay. I don't like guns either, but I've never known anything that could make money this fast. So he's not necessarily a gun dude. He's a dick, but he did make the motorized Uzi that pretty much everybody I know had one of, and those were pretty awesome. So yeah, that guy, he invented a couple other things. There was a squirt gun thing that you would put on your head. This was when I was way older. Little kids had it though. You'd put it on your head and you'd run around yelling, and then every time you yelled, squirt guns would come out of your eyes. Yeah, motorized. So took 2 D cells or maybe 3 D cell batteries down the back of the Uzi, and then the magazine was water and had a little tube that came out, and you'd put the magazine into the grip and then pull the trigger, and that was it. It was 100% legit. Looked just like a Uzi. Weighed a bunch because it had motors and batteries and stuff in it and water. And then you could get all kinds of mags for it. So you could run all around just reloading mags and it shot pretty decent. I think it said 30 feet. I think that was maybe optimistic, but you could certainly have decent squirt gun wars. Problem is it made noise, so you couldn't really be too silent. But by the time people figured out what was going on, they were getting wet. Anyway, I was doing one thing and I found, because something else that's going on, let me flip over here. Sitting here talking about it, looking at it right here. Guess we'll move this over, and then we got this right here. So this is the article where the guy that invented it, and that's his kid. And this is the part down here where he goes, "I don't like guns either, but I've never known anything that could make money this fast." So, there we go. September 8th, 1986. Anyway, so this guy is the inventor of that. This guy, I'll need good pictures of this, I guess. Let me see if there's the pictures in here. I found this thing about squirt guns. Website about squirt guns. It's pretty good. Anyway, I invented the Super Soaker. Invented the Super Soaker this month, and then it turns out that battery-operated Uzi was invented this month also. Different years, 6 years apart, but both in May. That's kind of cool. So how do I get to anything? This site is interesting, but it is not easy to deal with. So information, Super Soaker history. It's probably where it would be. Oh look, so here's pre-Super Soaker. And then he also, the guy, Lonnie, the guy who invented the Super Soaker, also invented the Nerf gun. Forget what it says, how much money he made, and then he made a bunch of more money also. So he's not poor. That was the first Super Soaker made out of PVC. Oh, okay. I guess there's all kinds of information in here. Oh yeah, there's way more. I didn't see this page yet. So anyway, this got me all sidetracked. I started reading about the Super Soaker and then found out that the Uzi was invented this month also. So I've been reading about that Uzi. Anyway, that's what I was going to show you basically, is that the Super Soaker was made out of a bunch of PVC pipes in a 2-liter bottle. Or yeah, it was a 2-liter bottle and some PVC pipes and a couple other fitments. That guy worked for NASA, so he was some sort of a scientist. And then made a pile of money. And then he had a couple other things too. What else did he make? Let's see. He made the Super Soaker, and then later on, I guess he made the Nerf version of the Super Soaker. Then this other guy who I have over here, who hates guns, invented the battery-powered water gun. He invented some other kind of battery, like an electronic water gun that you put on your bike. It wasn't really carried around. And then that shooting shout thing, but he also made a couple of other inventions. I forget now, but like other things. Oh, the post-it note. I think he claims that he invented the post-it note. And then he spent some time in the 80s trying to get the Beatles back together. That's kind of interesting thing. You never saw a motorized Uzi before? Holy moly. You know what I'm talking about, barbecue? With the motorized Uzi?
Yeah.
That was like...
I say I never had one, but I thought they were the coolest thing ever.
Well, I guess it depends on how old you were. When 85, that would have been... I mean, I was a little old for him, but there's no way I was... I mean, I know what a squirt gun was. I was in high school or something, probably. So, you know, it's not like I was a little old for one, but definitely getting... I think they said they retailed for $15. So, which was $15. $15. Oops, that's percent. Why does it say 15th Amendment? I guess I look up Second Amendment too much. $15 in... So, wow, that's $100 to me? No. Here we go. We should actually click on it. $35. So that's like buying a $35 squirt gun back then. So I was definitely buying one. I don't know why I didn't have more. I guess I didn't use them that much. We used them in Civil Air Patrol and stuff. And then I think it was, it did look a lot like an Uzi. So I think there was some awareness that if you carried them around too much, you know, we'd have potentially getting shot or something because they look just like an Uzi. Day 4 of the virus. Oh, I finally know somebody who's got the virus. Congratulations. What's it like? Let's see. Anybody got it from Erstwhile? Hopefully nobody's not sending stuff from people. Hopefully you're not dying from it. I don't know. I don't keep track of everybody to know if you're like one of these people that are about to die from it. But I'm hoping you're not. Have you had it? Barbecue?
I can't say I do.
I suspect it's something from SHOT Show, but because I get something from SHOT Show all the time, but half the time when I say that, people think it's absurd to think that we already got it.
Yeah, I've been under the weather this week. I haven't made any videos or anything because I've just been either laying in bed or sleeping, and kind of back to normal today. But I don't think it was COVID.
Wrong mouse. Yeah, one of the problems is that even when you do have it, it doesn't necessarily hit the same thing all the time, right? Sometimes it's worse for people, and obviously some people die from it, and other people don't. So, how do you even know any got it? I guess. I think there were. Well, I know there were tests here in town, something like 1,500 of them, and they didn't last. You know, whenever the first initial group of people were told about it, like it didn't get beyond those first people. They all signed up, and they were all whatever government or health, whatever, you know, whoever was in the first part of the tree, like instead of, well, even when they did let other people know, they also signed up. And it, from what I understand, was like just later, not even an hour later, all the appointments were taken. So I don't know how that was like an antibody test to see if you've already had it or something. And is that the one where they jam it all the way down your nose? I saw something where they jam something way down your nose. Oh, you're saying I don't have symptoms. I didn't even get tested, but I was close contact with someone who did test positive, so I get quarantined either way. Oh. 21 tests and 50 national. Wait, has had 21 tests, and it took 50 National Guard to administer them, and they ran out. Like, I don't know what you mean. Like they forced people and they ran out? Run in Georgia. So I'm going to put that here. Over there so I don't lose it. Figure out where this is, right? And then else we got over here? This is this. Don't need it because we already got it open over there. Over there. That's this. That's that guy. I guess I need some of these open. I'll come over here, and then we'll start check. Something that's gonna pop up. Boom. And we're gonna go into this thing. So we did post a couple of calendar events. I guess I do have a calendar open right here. This month, one of the problems with this month is I didn't have it updated, so it's tough to do the videos for it. Let's see, today is May 11th already. So yesterday, Cooper was born. Jeff Cooper was born. That was in 1920. That'll be one of the future projects here. We'll be delving into that one. On Friday, or on Saturday, I guess, Indiana ended prohibition on open carry back in 2017. I just posted that one over there today. And Minnesota, where did Minnesota go? I think Minnesota's today. I'm going to look at the right calendar. I'm all over the place. What is today? Today's the May 11th. So, what's that? Oh no, I'm ahead of it. It is this. It's later on in the month. I guess I could put this over here. It's later on in the month. Oh, I'm not even screen sharing anyway. No, so I guess it doesn't matter what screen I have this on. But Minnesota will get our end prohibition on open carry this month also. Let's see, but tomorrow is an interesting day because does anybody know what May 12th, 1984 is the anniversary of? May 12th, 1984. Got a couple of people on here. If you have the antibodies, isn't BioLife paying big bucks? I don't know. I've heard that some places are just taking it and then other places are paying for it. But I heard that they needed blood one way or the other, even if you don't have antibodies, right? Like they need blood because everybody who normally would give blood freaked out and quit giving blood. Oh, I see what you're saying. That it was voluntary, but there was more people there than tests. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, 50 seems like a lot, but whatever. There's probably a nurse for everybody or something. An attendee for everybody. If they're all nurses. Paramedics, maybe. Well, whatever. The equivalent of a paramedic in the military. Seems like a lot, though. Bob's out there. Let's see. So tomorrow I was asking if anybody knows what the anniversary May 12th, 1984 is going to be. Put it in here. Make it easier for you. It's a big one. It's a big one. It's also the day that Eric Sykes died. He's the guy from Sykes Fairborn daggers and fighting system that the OSS used. We got Savage being born this week. Savage is pretty awesome. I did the Firearms Inventors deck. I learned all kinds of stuff about different inventors, of course. I mean, everybody knows who some of them are, but knowing their stories and stuff. But Savage was crazy. I never even paid attention to Savage. That guy lived up to his name. He had an awesome, crazy life. Definitely we'll probably talk about it on Tuesday, I guess, or Wednesday when that happens. We got United States versus Miller, one of the weirdest Supreme Court cases from 1939. It's an odd one. Both sides use it as justification for their craziness. We got silencers for firearms being patented by Maxim this week. Or no, wait. This week is just some other guy randomly makes a patent for suppressors in 1910, and then later on in the same month, I just posted it. Yeah, in 1910. So somehow there was a patent for firearm silencer a week before Hiram Percy Maxim invented it on May 24th. So I have no idea what the deal is there. I think Logan tried to tell me one time, but I couldn't. I don't know. I guess Maxim just had better PR or something. Let's see. 84? Come on. Red Dawn is in August 10th, 1984. That's a national holiday, so it shouldn't be confused with May. Nothing to do with Red Dawn. Let's see. What else we got going on? Colorado gun. Oh, there's supposed to be an awesome gun show this weekend in Colorado, but I don't think it is. It would have been its 55th year. It's it's the longest running gun show in Colorado, but it's one of the longest running gun shows, I think. And it's an old gun collector show. I always wanted to go to it. I was hoping to get to it. Well, every year I'm hoping to get to it. Not getting to it this year. That would have been this weekend, next weekend. And then there's some other stuff coming up. So I have to say I've been loading up the calendar here. Where's that list? Oh, I'm not screen sharing, but it looks like I've got another couple other things to do this week or this month. Mauser? I don't have Mauser in there. How did I not have Mauser in there? Clint Eastwood's going to be born this month. And you know what else happens this month? It's May the 4th, but nobody ever talks about May 25th. You know what May 25th is? Anyone? That's the day that Star Wars was released. So May is Star Wars month. All right, so what am I looking for over here? I think I was going to open up. Not this one. I don't know why I named it this, but this is the one I was looking for. Trying a new system here for doing projects, writing files and stuff, so that I make a point to save it periodically on separate drives because I'm all paranoid now. Just would like to screen share in here or try it. See if anybody. We got 8 people out there. A lot of chatting going on. Barbecues, anything to bring up? There's a link over on Patreon. If anybody wants to take us up on that and join in. Otherwise, I guess I can't have that thing open all the way. It covers that. Anybody watch any of those Wozniak videos by any chance? I think I've watched every single Wozniak thing that's over 15 minutes long on YouTube. He definitely says the same stuff quite a bit, but it's interesting to watch him say the same stuff like over the decades because it does illuminate some of his, I don't know, mindset, I guess. Interesting dude. So let's see, I'm going to grab this. Oh, that's eBay. Let's close eBay. Saw a couple of neat squirt guns over on eBay that were not that expensive, really. That picture. Oh, it's on this whole other thing over here. Yeah, nothing said nothing since 8:25. I'll keep it open here, but the reason I say nothing, I guess. Crop that thing down, drop it over here. Pigs out there. I don't know what it's saying. That sound of them Uzis or something. That's kind of what they sounded like. Now I busted mine at some point, and then it still made the noise. But I suspect it'd have been better mod to go in there and break the motor. Well, I guess you couldn't really break the motor sound. There were other ones that just made noise. They were cheaper and they were lame. Like you'd pull the trigger and they had some kind of electronic noise that would happen. And then in my research here this afternoon, I found that there's also a Radio Shack version, which drives me nuts because it supposedly existed before this guy invented the things. And this guy definitely invented them. I watch the 8-Bit Guy and a couple of those other ones that are all, I don't keep track. I don't like watch his videos as much as I notice because, it's that guy again. I'll be watching something and I'm like, oh, it's that guy again. But there's about 4 of them dudes that are all about the same. That when you look at old stuff, their stuff shows up. You move already, Bob? I was talking about moving up there closer to the Americas. The good America. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I'm still running a solid state. Something PC controller. I want my CNC. I don't know what that Fanuc PC controller is. But after watching a bunch of these things, after watching the Steve Wozniak stuff and him talking about how much he loves his Apple IIs, I started thinking about I got like 2 Apple IIs sitting here. And I don't know, big box of stuff, drives and whatnot. And whenever I was collecting that, actually I didn't collect it. I just kept it. I didn't throw it away or sell it. I was basically just keeping anything that I could find out of my stuff that was different, like that would complete a set, but I didn't even know what I was looking at. So I honestly have no idea what Apple II stuff I have, but I suspect there's all kinds of neat controllers and stuff in there because it's all from the University of Arizona, and almost all of that stuff comes out of their science labs. So my Apple II that's signed by Wozniak comes from there, and the big box of stuff I have, I'm thinking is probably pretty neat. I know that I know that U of A was, doing some of the pre-internet stuff, and I have a couple of radio modems because they invented radio modems here in Tucson, I guess, for ham radios. And I'm pretty sure I have something in there that was something like that looked like some kind of a radio that somebody had made. So one of these years I'll get into that. That's like so far underneath the stuff in a pile that I just vaguely recollect the stuff I like. Say I just didn't throw it away. But I was thinking about it and going in to find if I can find an Apple. Well, I know I have probably at least one working Apple II and some stuff. That'd be neat to go in and get us some I/O controllers though, and do something. I'm seeing some people like that 8-bit guy do some really neat stuff with old computers, whatnot. Like an old Amiga. I always wanted an Amiga. I was too old, and I knew that it was a waste of time because I wasn't going to have any time to play with it, so I never invested in one. They came out when I was like in high school, like towards the end of high school, and I was given less and less of a shit about computers, but I understood that they were the shit for everything I wanted to do. And now that I'm looking back at some of those videos, stuff they can do is so neat. Run little robots and whatever. Well, there was no robots back then, but you could definitely run robots with it and stuff now. This guy looks a little bit mean, but he hates guns, so I'm going to leave it like this. Well, I've been watching a bit just jumping in. The computer that runs the CNC machine, 38 years old and still running every day. Cool. remember when I was selling that stuff for what I would get at the computer lab, it was already ancient stuff, like really old stuff. But the people we were selling it to on eBay and stuff were using it like you're talking about, probably. I mean, the one time I made a lot of money. Like I kept myself in business for probably a year off of one sale one time. I've probably talked about this before, and I don't know if I talked on this show, but I bought like a bunch of these things that I thought were junk because I didn't know what they were. And I was like, look at all those RJ45 slots. I'm just going to buy these things and unsolder all those RJ45 slots and then sell those on eBay. Because for some reason I thought that was a good idea. And then I bought them or whatever. I won the auction. And then as soon as I won it, like somebody came over, and that's a whole nother story. There's like a whole bunch of people that, we bid against this stuff and they missed it basically. They weren't paying attention. So as soon as I won it, and I got all this stuff for $2. It was like a buck a pile. And there might have been, I don't know, these piles were chest high for me or maybe higher. They're like from the floor, 4 foot tall. I don't know, tall. And dozens of these things, probably a dozen plus, maybe 18 in each pile. I don't even remember. There's a lot of them. Anyway, some guy came up and he's like, oh man, I was going to bid on them. What'd you get them for? Well, buck. He's like, I hate you. He's like, oh, what are you worried about? And he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, you can have one. And then he dug through there and he took one. And then, okay, whatever. I think I might even have given away 2 or something. The one guy knew what they were. The other people were only interested because that one guy knew what they were. So I gave away a couple without paying attention to what they were. And anyway, then I got back, took on eBay, and I'm like, oh snap. So what happened was there was 3 different types in that pile, and one of the types was worth like $800 or more. Like it was worth a lot of money, and that's probably what the one guy who knew what they were probably took one of them. And I don't care because it's he was kind of a friend of mine. And I'm sure that in the future that kept him off of my back when I was bidding, because that's just the way it works in those auction worlds. But it doesn't matter. I had a bunch of them. I had a bunch of the really expensive ones, and the ones that weren't as expensive, were still hundreds of bucks. So I basically got just thousands and thousands of dollars for $2. And anyway, all of those servers were so expensive because they were the only things left to run flight simulators for some kind of airplane, like some kind of real airplane, like a Boeing or some shit. So I guess at least an airplane that made it worth them buying $800 things off of me that were nothing, that were old garbage. And that's the thing, they couldn't do nothing about it. They had to buy old garbage because their computers were so old that that's all they could work with, and it would have cost a lot more. You'd have to buy whole new simulators, I guess. So once I figured out what I had going, I sold a couple of them on eBay, and then I just ended up selling them directly to that guy, or to a couple of places. I don't remember exactly, but I basically sold them in mass to people that needed them. And I ended up selling them for like $500 instead of $800. I wasn't going to make them all fight me because I got them almost for nothing. I was happy I could, make somebody happy. And then, if I ever got something like that again, I'd have a definite customer. I think I got everything that the school ever had. I don't think I ever saw more than a couple of those go out. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. And then half the other, I never bought anything for more than a couple of bucks. I might have paid $35 on an item, twice in my whole lifetime. I almost always bought stuff for like $5 or less. So that was always good times. Because the worst that would happen is you'd have to throw away like $5 or $10 worth of stuff that turned out nobody wanted. But almost always it was some kind of obscure, weird thing that was worth a lot of money. I bought this one thing thinking it was a cooler, like thinking it was one of them water coolers for putting water in, like a job site. And then I took it home. And I'm like, oh, this isn't a water cooler. This is like some kind of stupid science thing, and it's probably got radiation in it or whatever. So I figured out what it was. It's a thing for putting putting liquid nitrogen in. And then it was worth $85 or something. I paid like $2 for it. So I just sold it on eBay real quick. Back in those days, you'd sell stuff on eBay and people would just pick it up local. Like half the time people in Tucson were buying that stuff. I bought a bunch of lasers that were just neat because they were huge. And I think it's one of those deals where I didn't know what I had, because those sold fast every time. All right, people are saying stuff over here now. All right. Pink and Bob need to get a room over there. Let's see. Last shop I worked in had a machine that cut hydraulic piston rods. It still ran on a paper punch roll like the old pianos. Oh, that's super cool. That would be really neat. I think I don't remember what channel it is, but I started watching a channel like called the History Museum or like something about a history. It's not, I don't know, maybe it's the Computer History Museum or something like that. Computer something history. Anyhow, they have an IBM setup that it's just some half of a big room. And they got this giant IBM, I forget the number, but reel to reel thing. And yeah, they were flipping cards through there and talking about all the different ways that cards were used. But yeah, that would be neat. It's basically, well, not necessarily mechanical because sometimes those are electronic eyes, right? Looking through there. So, and then you. My old shop had two lathes that used paper punch cards. They were buried in the corner. Well, that's too bad. You can still use those things without the punch cards and stuff, right? That's just to run jobs like CNC. They still ran that machine. Yep, very cool. I figure I'll get that Apple stuff out of there though, because I knew I was keeping it around for something, but I assumed it was going to be for somebody like me that just puts it on a shelf and looks at it. But now knowing that there's people out there that get them running and do stuff with them, it's kind of neat. And they're doing some really neat stuff, like over doing stuff that they couldn't do back in the day, just to either prove they can do it or to make an old solid machine. All right, well, I think that's what I'm going to call this guy, Alan Amaron. And there he is, the guy that invented the, what do you call that thing? The, nope. Water oozing, there we go. I guess I can put him in inventors too. Cool. All right, well, we got 9 people. Nobody's saying nothing. Barbecue shouldn't have to take the whole burden. Thanks for being in here, but you're not saying nothing either.
Yes, I don't have much to talk about. Like I said, I've been pretty well out of it for the last 4 days or so.
Right on.
And say, if you remember Friday, I was trying to get in and I was having all that issue. Spent 2 hours going back and forth with StreamYard customer support, getting the whole browser issue figured out. Then finally got that squared away.
What'd they tell you?
It was something with Google Chrome, like I thought. It was just a lot of troubleshooting for those 2 hours. Ended up going and completely resetting the permissions for the app, even though they said that everything was allowed like I needed. When I reset everything and made it ask for the permissions again, and when that came up, I went to hit allow, and it wouldn't let me hit allow. So I went to hit block just to see if it would do anything. It wouldn't let me hit block, but I wasn't froze or anything. It just wouldn't let me do anything, and that perplexed them even more. They're like, "This makes no sense." And eventually, I was able to go in and manually return on the permissions since I had reset them now, and everything's working fine. So
It's weird.
yeah, they, like I said, they were very perplexed by it. Just something funny going on with Google Chrome, I guess.
I was having trouble with the internet all last week. They said they were fixing it, and then sometime throughout the weekend, I just had to call up because it was getting so bad. I called up again, and they have some kind of automated thing, and whenever that automated thing seemed to work, so kudos to the cable company, I guess. I'm gonna use that one, even though, oops, that's when he's old and not when he invented the thing. I think I should use one of these now. This one he's looking the wrong way. Maybe I'll just make a version of both of these. There's the whole picture. Some guy invented the Super Soaker action figure, which is a whole nother patent. I don't know what that is, but I saw a picture of it. I just don't know how big it is. Do they ever have a figure or something like that? A figure? Super Soaker Man. A whole other invention. How big is it? Oh, it's just a little tiny toy? Oh, I thought it was something like you put in your yard and hook a hose up to it, like one of them things, and it squirted all around. It's a whole invention just for a little action figure with a Super Soaker in its hand. I guess it squirts water. What's all this about? Never seen those. There's a couple of Super Soakers. Oh, new comments. Oh, let's see. Had those little pegs you would push through a grid of holes. Oh, okay. Oh, the Terminator music. What are you bringing up the Terminator music up about? That's the question. That's the real question. Let's see if we go up here. Nah, I gotta go to here and then view this on YouTube. Go up here and I'm gonna find this, copy it here because it won't let me copy it on the duck, El Pato. Go over here, type in this, boom. What happened on 12 May 1984? It's a sign of Taurus. Is there anything good in here? No, it's just some ad fun. It's crazy how much more bulletproof old PCs are. That's true. Bishop's out there. That's when John's dad went to back to save Sarah. Yep, boom. Right there. So, whatever I said there. May 12th, 1984 is the day that Terminator comes back. Well, Kyle and Terminator come back. In the first timeline. Like the actual timeline. Man, there's a whole bunch of other stuff happening. So, they're saying that on May 13th, so is it May 12th or May 13th? At 1:50 p.m. I guess we don't know what time he comes in, sometime after that. And then we've got the 14th is when Terminator wails on the police department. Andy go gets her mom. And then they get a room at that hotel. The hotel doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does, but it's all abandoned now. And they took they added a second floor to it or something. I was thinking about checking that out. But it was nowhere near the other stuff I was looking at in LA. Let's see. And then on Sunday, so barely 2 days later, they'll all get blown up at the Cyberdyne fan factory. And then we've got the Sector War. I don't know which one that is. Hell came back on the 12th. The Terminator came back at 1:30 a.m. on the 13th. Oh, you're right. He does get here first. Wait. No, he doesn't. No. Terminator gets here first. Wait. I'm trying to remember. Dude comes down in the alley. Terminator comes down in the... Terminator has to come first, dude. Terminator comes first, and then they are trying to sabotage the machine, and that's when the Resistance sends Kyle through. So it has to be after Terminator. Or unless you're saying that they left at the same time, but Terminator aimed at the 13th and Kyle aimed at the 12th? I gotta find a better one than this site. Is that the same place I just came from? Terminator Fandom. Oops. Yeah, I'm not gonna go back there. Regular Wikipedia. It's gonna be shitty. Wikipedia is pretty shitty for Terminator. Reese was born in 2004. How about a timeline? Timeline. Yeah, see, Wiki's pretty shitty. They don't even try doing a timeline in Wikipedia. Oh, this is explaining the newest installment. So it was sent back 2004. What is this? Terminator Fandom. Right, T-800 killed 2 Seraph Connors. Oh, is that right? I know he comes back and he steals the clothes, but doesn't he drop in the alley right after that? Well, let's go see what it says on this one. There's some good images. I should just go to the images. I'm trying to find a website to explain it. Just say Terminator timeline. This one looks too crazy. I want one with actual dates in it. Yeah, if they're not full size, you're not going to be able to see shit. History. Bounce back to that. Now what happened? Oh, there it is. February is born. Sarah's born May 12th to 4th, the Terminator. Yeah. Well, that doesn't help us. It doesn't have good dates in it. Skynet would send the most feared machines back to a third still young Sarah Connor. Realizing what Skynet was to do, John Connor sends a soldier back to protect himself from the machine. It would be Reese. Arriving, not knowing what the Terminator looks like. How could he not know what the Terminator looks like? That doesn't make any sense because they all, I guess they had different Terminator 800s. It doesn't say either. Real good wiki. Real good wiki here. What we got here? We gotta go back to the other one. Here. Go over here. Go over to here and link. And close this one. Yeah, this is the one I was just looking at. Police officers begin their night shift. Yeah, I guess they're putting this in order, right? While Sarah was at work, the Terminator killed the other two Sarah Connors in the phone book. But Reese was also looking for Sarah Connor at that point. But he's also asleep in that station wagon for a while. Remember, he falls asleep in that station wagon and wakes up when the construction equipment, he thinks it's a robot. And then he hotwires it or something. So he gets there, runs away from, or like finds the pants off the bum, then runs through that store and gets the shoes, runs out of the store, gets the shotgun, finds a car and falls asleep. Terminator arrives, grabs a bunch of clothes, starts killing people. So, problem with humans. Should have sent a robot back. But yeah, Terminator is only 3 days long, so the whole thing will end here pretty quick. But anyway, that's coming up here tomorrow. So Star Wars can suck it. Terminator. All right, so going back to this picture of Lonnie, I'll grab that and I'll close that and I'll open this and I'll paste it there. Like I said, I know I already drew this one, but I can't find it anywhere. I was looking around longer than it would take me to draw the dang thing. And I gotta figure out his name again. Over here. Let's see. Looks like Jay Leno with a Mac. Oh, you mean that cartoon? Yeah. I only have pictures of that guy when he was old, so I figured that'd be a good one because that's the article where he says he doesn't like guns. Let's see. I don't make this one that big. We'll crop it. Oops. All right, now this thing all around. And now we're down to 6 people. We're an hour in. And like I say, there's a link over there on the Patreon side if you want to jump in. Otherwise, got a picture of Lonnie to draw here. What I think is wrong is this. Can I make that a 1 point? Or you know what else I can do? I can just come out and make these bigger. Unlock these and make them bigger. There we go. Still on, babe. I remember where I found those other things before. Under here, and then under here. No. Where the hell I was finding those things? They were over here somewhere. Oh. What the hell happened there? Okay, here we are. How was I finding all these things? Oops. Somewhere I could just flip through. There we go. There we are. And one by one, I don't care. Boom. Now I can get to 1 point. And now we can go in. That's a little better. All right. Well, now we're dropping people off, so it's late and nobody's saying anything. So I can't imagine anybody want to watch this. Come off here. So I use this to record what I'm doing on the screen so I can speed it up later, but I don't know if anybody cares about me doing that anyway. So I'll get much response on those. So we'll keep going, I guess. We'll end it and we'll be back to pick you up later. Thanks, Big Barbecue, for jumping in.
Yep.
And yeah, we keep links over on the Patreon. So if anybody's interested, you can jump in that way. Or if you want a link, let me know and consider it. Otherwise, got lots of stuff going on. Got about hard to say. I wanted to say 50%. I think I'm going to still say 50% of the way through a new book. So took a break from that to work on the history stuff here, so I don't go a whole month without doing history stuff. Found out about this couple of things I needed to draw cartoons of here for this month, and then I got a couple I need for the book there. So I'll be drawing here for the next couple of days. If you're listening and you're on the Patreon and you're interested in jumping in and be off air, I've been listening to old computer stuff and speeches and things like that lately. If you're interested in listening to some of that, like on GunTube or something, let me know. I got a bunch of time to put into doing some cartoons and stuff, so it's just going to be sort of computer time. And it looks like I'm going to try to do that here in the next couple of days, just so I can keep moving with these books. So with, I guess without that, we'll say thanks again to Barbecue for jumping in. And
thanks for having me.
There, and we'll be back to pick you up later.